Hey everyone, it's Aaliyah with Beyond the Frame, YouTube's #1 resource for everything behind the scenes of your favorite films, and today we're talking about the film Piece by Piece, animated by Legos, based on Pharrell's life, and highlight some interesting facts you can use whenever you need to get into a movie or trivia battle with someone on YouTube. By the way, this does contain spoilers. Being completely honest, when I heard this film was coming out, I definitely had some thoughts. Mostly because I didn't really know anything about Pharrell's life outside of the fact that he made some serious bangers. The Louis Vuitton director loves matching outfits with his family, and he ages like a total vampire. So, walking into the theater, I had no idea this movie had such a huge cast, from Missy Elliott to Pusha T, Timbaland, Gwen Stefani, Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, and Snoop Dogg. Not to mention the incredible soundtrack. For most of us, we have a list of movies we either love or hate, and everyone has a different criteria of what movies make the list. But according to experts, there are certain key traits a writer does to evoke emotions that keep our eyes glued to the screen. One of the first things about Piece by Piece that immediately captured my attention was how the camera starts over Pharrell's left shoulder, and we see his kids playing in a room while his wife Helen, who maintains a very low profile, walks up to him and starts talking to him. Subconsciously, as humans, when we watch a film, we want to feel like the character is relatable, that they're human and they do things that you or I would do. And so we see that with how he interacts with his wife and kids before making his way to a different part of the house to start the filming. But all that being said, for the first 2 minutes, I was like, huh? This filming style is different. I thought this was going to be like the first Lego movie. To be fair, I didn't watch the trailer, so that's on me. The camera follows Pharrell into a room where he sits down to talk to an interviewer, Morgan Neville, an Oscar and Grammy winner filmmaker, and starts asking questions about Pharrell's life. And right away, Pharrell tells Morgan he was only interested in an autobiographical film if it could be shot as a Lego movie, which instantly resulted in Morgan making his confused face, perfectly capturing exactly what I was thinking.
Hey, Pharrell.
Hey, how you doing, man? You know, it'd be cool is if we told my story with Lego pieces.
Seriously?
Yes.
Lego.
Just be open.
From here, I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who thinks this is weird. Let me keep watching to see where this goes. But I think it's important to note that Pharrell has never been the type to follow the status quo, which is what the movie goes into, especially during his childhood. Pharrell grew up in Virginia Beach, specifically in the projects, and he highlights the apartment he actually grew up in.
The reason why, my high school marching band is on the song is because that's where it all started for me. In Virginia Beach, Virginia, and Princess Anne High School.
The thing that stood out to me that I didn't know was his obsession with music, that he could stare into the speakers, replaying the song over and over, associating colors with music. But that obsession and that drive to want to immerse yourself into music is something we admire in a character, because most of us know what it's like to obsess over a song or feel like that song completely captured the essence of who you are or how you think. Music is a powerful tool, so much so that it's universal. Good music transcends race, gender, age, politics. It's one of the few things that can really bring people together, which is what the movie goes into when Gwen Stefani starts talking about Hella Good, a song that the Neptunes produce, and how that song bridged their two worlds together, rock and hip-hop, to create something greater than themselves. This is a quote from Chad Hugo, the co-founder of the Neptunes. Our group has always had a specific sound people never really understood. We allowed our mind to wander, and most people don't. Also, Pharrell didn't tell Gwen and the others that they would be Legos, so that must have been an interesting text to wake up to.
They had
Pusha.
no idea they would appear as
Pharrell.
Legos.
Nobody knew.
Yes, please.
Now going back to Pharrell's childhood, I want to draw attention to a few things. He was very odd and eccentric, and he felt like he never fit in. In one scene, he's wearing a fishbowl, completely lost in his imagination when two kids see him and run away laughing. His Lego face almost brought me to tears. Pharrell talks about how he wasn't good at school and actually had to repeat the 7th grade based on his mom's request that he do it again. When we hear these things, we can't help but feel bad because a lot of us can relate to some degree, and feeling sad about a character is one of the most important emotions used to grip an audience because it's so relatable. So for Pharrell, he fell more and more into his imagination, and music was key. Pharrell said the first time he started making music was with his grandma's cooking utensils, and when his grandma saw him, instead of scolding him or telling him to put those away, she said, "Now there's something." And it was there that he met Chad Hugo, the second member of the Neptunes. Pharrell had found someone just like him, and they would go off to make music together after school. Now, in the movie, Pharrell says Pusha T, Timbaland, Missy Elliott all went to the same high school, which is not true, by the way. But they did all live in the same area and met each other as teenagers. And when I read about that, it reminded me of when Busta Rhymes, Biggie, DMX, and Jay-Z all went to the same high school in New York and actually got into a rap battle together. Which I then couldn't help but think about Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Because yes, Pharrell did go to a school with future legendary musicians, but the Neptunes wouldn't have been the Neptunes if it wasn't for the biggest producer at the time, Teddy Riley, creating a studio within walking distance of Pharrell's high school. Pharrell, Chad, and Shay happened to be at the right place at the right time and went on to win a high school music competition that was hosted by Teddy Riley, earning them a music contract. Now, it would be easy to say that everything just kicked off and Pharrell became Pharrell, but that's not true. Pharrell explains that years would go by before he would get his first break, and that was late one night in the studio. Teddy was working on a song and needed a rap, and who just happened to be at the studio working late that night? Teddy asked Pharrell to get on the mic, and the next thing we know, this rap happened. It's not Pharrell's voice, but he gave Teddy the inspiration he needed to make the rap, and yet that still wasn't enough. It would take Pharrell several more years of hustling, grinding, and helping some artists with their songs before his next big break, Super Thug. The Neptunes started getting so many calls that in 2003, they were said to be responsible for producing 43% of the songs playing on the radio. So when you hear this, you know they were working their asses off, staying in the studio day and night to produce all these songs. And there is something to be said about people who are meticulous about their craft and actually good at what they do. It's an honorable quality, which is a crucial element we see with memorable characters in film. But there is a balance because we don't appreciate it when people rise to the top and become super arrogant, losing their way and forgetting what got them there in the first place. In Piece by Piece, we see Pharrell lose himself to the fame, greed, and money as the men in suits close in on him about sales, numbers, and telling him he needs to focus on mainstream music. And during that time in the film, we saw the Neptunes break up. He stopped seeing his now wife, Helen, and his grandmother, one of the most important people in his life, passed away. When we rise to the mountaintops only to come crashing down, we can choose how we rebuild ourselves, whether that be good or bad, and in this case, Pharrell chose humility. He decided to focus on rebuilding himself to be the man he really wanted to be, which paved the way for these musical gems.
Crazy what I'm about to say.
That feels great.
By the way, Happy was the most successful song in 2014. Pharrell got back with Helen, soon proposed, and made amends with Chad, getting the Neptunes back together. Although I do have to deliver this sad news about Pharrell and Chad no longer being on speaking terms earlier this year due to Chad filing a lawsuit over Neptune's licensing rights, claiming Pharrell was using the Neptunes brand without consulting Chad, violating the agreement they split everything equally between each other. Which is really disappointing because they made some of the most iconic songs that really shaped my teenage years. Fingers crossed, they work it out and they get back together. Now, there are many people who watched the film and might have thought, it's just a movie about Pharrell bragging about his life with his rich and successful friends. I hear you and I can see where you're coming from, but I do want to say this movie seemed less focused on Pharrell and more about the music. So many of these artists were just passionate about making music together, and we see that throughout the film. This movie was also a serious flex on how far we've come with animation. Not to mention the fact that Pharrell said if he was going to create a bio-documentary, he wanted it to be as Legos. That's how he views the world. So don't take this movie so seriously. He was having fun and it shows in the film. I encourage you to have an open mind and give this movie a chance. Storytelling was originally meant to have a purpose and have a moral message inside that leaves us feeling good. And I can definitely tell you as I left the theater, I felt that. And it made me feel like amidst the chaos and darkness in the world, there are still many areas of lightness where people are going after their dreams and pursuing the life that they want to live. And I just want to go back to how amazing the songs are because seriously, you guys, the audio engineers mixed the music to sound so freaking good. It was awesome. And I want to leave you with this final last interesting fact. Many of the songs on Justin Timberlake's Justified album were originally made from Michael Jackson, and Britney Spears' I'm a Slave for You was actually meant for his sister, Janet Jackson. You can hear it now, right? I want to hear your final thoughts on the film Piece by Piece. Are we in? Are we out? What do we think? Let me know. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.